the cover of our summer guide that had the last Maine Brew guide in it is a picture of a hiker looking up at Tumbledown Mountain. And the backstory behind the photo is two women hiked Tumbledown, and then they went and drank Tumbledown beer at the brewery not far away.
Hey all, Amanda here. Welcome to entry 69 of Great Beer Adventure. Over a year and a half ago, I had a crazy idea to start a podcast about beer. Somewhere along the way, I started, at least in a small way, becoming part of the quote-unquote media. It is completely crazy to me that a person can jump onto the internet and while working hard can carve out their own little piece of existence within a much bigger ecosystem. To me, TV, newspapers, and magazines had always been the media. But today, podcasting and blogging have made their way in too. I get to sit down with Stan Rintz on today's episode, who is putting together the Maine Brew Guide, a print magazine coming your way very soon. Hey everybody, I am sitting at the Thirsty Pig. We are back at the Pig. This time we're right at the tail end of summer, and I'm sitting here today with Stan Rintz. Thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Stan, you are putting together the Maine Brew Guide.
Correct.
Will you tell me a little bit more about that? We're going to get more into some details about it later, but a quick overview about kind of how it got started and what it's going to be.
Yes. So the actual Maine Brew Guide started a couple of years ago as an imprint in our adventure travel publications about Maine in the Activities Guide. So, obviously we saw that the craft beer movement was really huge, and we also saw the correlation between traveling and people doing activities around craft beer, visiting tasting rooms, après ski, après anything involves beer. So it was a lot of our content was intermingling with it. So we decided to put out a brew guide as an imprint, and that went very well for the last basically a year and a half to 2 years. So enough so it grew to the point where this fall we're releasing a standalone brew guide version all by itself.
That's fabulous. For people like me, I completely agree. Every activity, there's this culture around beer that's amazing, and people love to do all these different things, like you said, skiing and hiking and biking and racing and all of this stuff that's fun, and beer just makes it better. It
does. It really does. And it gives you the ideas too. Like the cover of our summer guide that had the last Maine Brew guide in it is a picture of a hiker looking up at Tumbledown Mountain, and the backstory behind the photo is two women hiked Tumbledown, and then they went and drank Tumbledown beer at the brewery not far away.
I love it. I love that so much because, especially here in Maine, we have cans, so you can throw some of those in the backpack and drink them at the top of the mountain.
Right, exactly, and then carry them right out.
Yeah, right before we jumped on, I told you that I felt like beer and drinking beer specifically was about the communication and the stories that you share. And what better way to lament or brag about the race that you just had than over specifically a local craft beer.
Oh my God, that's exactly right, and that's one of the other publications is Race Me, and one of the stories or kind of excerpts was like, is a beer going to ruin my training and all that? And then from what we found from PubMed, it really doesn't in moderation in any type of athletic form. But yeah, that's exactly right. You brag about your race, the run you had, the ride that you took, for biking, or your mountain experience, whether it be snowboarding, skiing in the winter, or just, trails that you've been on. It's a way to, lament and enjoy and relax.
You mentioned PubMed?
PubMed.
What is that?
No correlation between like the pubs that we drink in, but there's actually like more like published medical files.
Oh.
But I just like this because it says PubMed.
Yeah.
They're not doctors in pubs right now.
I really thought there would be a great resource. I could be like, okay, I've got all these sciencey questions about beer in your body. Can I go to PubMed?
PubMed. You will be able to find stuff there.
That's fabulous.
But it's not correlated to pubs. It's more like published.
That would make it even better.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, doctors in pubs.
Right. Yeah. We should start like a Facebook group and like just invite them all out.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they love beers. I mean, my background's in sports medicine, and most of the docs that I've had the pleasure of working with on the sidelines of football or hockey games, they're craft beer enthusiasts as well.
Oh, most of the best people are.
Yeah.
Anybody that
Agreed.
is my friend that isn't, come on, just come to the light. You can do it.
Yes.
All right, let's jump right into the show. Our first round is always talking about what we're drinking. And here at Thirsty Pig, they have so many amazing local beers right on tap. And I have, for anybody that didn't know Maine beer, they would think it was orange juice.
It does look very thick.
It's very thick, very orangey yellow. It's by Bissell Brothers, and it's their reciprocal. I think it's somewhere in the 7%. I don't really know. My husband and I were splitting one, and I told him I just wanted to try it. And I had to go so slowly because as I was drinking it, I wanted to just drink the whole thing really fast. It just went down so easily.
He'd been very impressed or mad.
Probably mad. Where did my beer go? At this point, he knows I'm a professional, so it's like, there's no impressed.
He's watching you.
Exactly. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking the Foundation Burnside Brown Ale. It's getting to be fall. I'm thinking, I love a good stout year-round, but I'm transitioning into the browns right now.
Yeah.
Then eventually, I love a good stout beer in the wintertime too, or any time in the summer. I'm not afraid. But browns have always been a favorite of mine, and this one's right on. It's a 5.1%, very toasty, caramelly tasting beer. It's delicious.
I recently was talking to somebody, and they were talking about stouts as a nice warm coat that you put on. And I completely agree. That's how I feel, too. I definitely drink for the season. Around a campfire, though, at night, when it's a little cooler, even in the summer, I'll totally go for a porter or a stout. Or at breakfast time, I'll go for a coffee stout.
Absolutely.
There's times around the year for me for stouts or porters, but...
Yeah, depending on how long the show goes, and if we get another one, I see Tumbledown has their Dog Star Stout, which I can tell you is fantastic. And I was wrestling with that or going with the Foundation. So
yeah, well, if you're going to have two, start with the Foundation.
Right, and then exactly. So we'll see where this goes.
It's a little hard to go the other way,
Exactly.
But it's like the on-ramp.
Right.
Like the brown is a great
There's a lot of thought that went into it.
Yeah. All right, so our second round is talking about a specific theme, and you are putting together an entire magazine, not a blog post, not a website where you can put things together slowly. You're putting out a magazine, a publication.
Correct.
And so you've had to really think about all the different information that you're going to put into this and how you had to curate all this different information from all these different people. Can you tell me about some of the different angles that you're going to take with that?
Sure. Yes. So this is going to be an industry magazine. That was the goal of this, and that's what we want to build it to be. And obviously, brewers all start small. Everything great starts small, and then it gets built and expanded and, goes to be what they end up being. And so we want this to be an industry magazine. And kind of if I was to break it up into percentage-wise, I definitely want to reach the craft beer enthusiasts, when people are asking about, answer people's questions, that they have out there. But we also want to relate to the brewers themselves. So 75%, I would say, would be content towards craft beer enthusiasts. 25%, I want brewers themselves to pick up this magazine that's in their pubs, in their brew pubs, and their breweries, and read it and find out something interesting that they can use themselves. Really dig in, find some good issues that they can dig their teeth into, and and actually learn something like, wow, I didn't know that, or whether it be on the brew side or or legislation or laws, or maybe it's financial stuff that they could really use, or legal advice or something like that, because everyone starts from a different point, and I think there's a lot of information out there, and we're trying to pull it together for them in that aspect. But also, it's also interesting for the readers themselves to know what brewers have to go through, all the hoops and the hurdles to just get patents and licenses and all that stuff that we can try to help with the budding or started brewers with.
So who are you going to have writing? I know there are great, amazing beer writers out there. We've had a bunch on the show. We've had Carla, we've had Josh, we've had Ben, we've had Kevin Broidrick. There's a great number of beer writers out there.
But they write for those 75%, it feels like.
Correct. Yep. And then Dave Patterson.
And Dave Patterson. He hasn't been on the show, but he is lovely. I've met him. He's wonderful.
Yeah, he's awesome. So he's doing 2 pieces for us. But you mentioned Ben is working on a piece. Carla's working on a piece. Josh is submitting us a great spreadsheet that has the tasting room hours that are for all the entire.
I've seen that
Yes,
spreadsheet.
I know.
It's
yes,
amazing.
I saw he posted on Facebook. But we're going to actually design a cool feature around it. And we might even try to put it as our centerfold so people can just pull that right out and and have that as their places where they're tasting rooms so they can put it in their cars or
Glove
just
box accessory number 1 right there.
Yeah, pull out for that type of a cool demographic, put our designers on it, and make it look awesome. Yeah.
What about the 25%?
Okay, so right now we're just talking with Sean Sullivan of the Maine Brewers Guild. So they just had their meeting, and we're trying to figure out how we can partner with them. And they do a lot with that. They're a Brewers Guild, so they have a lot of content that serves that population. So I want to work through them to kind of figure out what's going to help them. Since this was released on Maine Biz a couple weeks ago, I've received a few phone calls from various trade associations like attorneys, insurance, banks, because they're really interested in this type of the startups. Not all of them go bonkers and expanding within a year or two,
right?
Like Bissell, but so that seems to be the way it goes for a lot of them. Not many are closing, put it that way. Right. So they seem very interested to be able to put information out to them. They want to reach them. So I've been compiling that information about that type of information. What can you use them? Legal advice, financial advice. They have these kits out there that that people that are looking to start their breweries to really save them a lot of time. And they're like brew kits for startups in these type of sectors: financial, legal, and insurance, things like that. A lot of things that we don't think about when we're enjoying their beers.
And see, that's the whole thing that I try to do with this show is I really want to fill in the gap between what you see or taste drinking a beer and everything else. There are so many things that I had no idea that were out there, like tap line cleaning. Before I talked to, I think it was Alex. But until I sat down and talked to him, I didn't really realize it because you think, oh, of course they're clean. Oh, the bar probably does it because they want you to be healthy and clean and all this. And there's so much more to it. But I really like trying to... That stuff, I have this insatiable curiosity.
Yep.
Your magazine's so exciting to me.
Yes. So, I talked with Matheson's. They supply the gas and CO2 to most of these breweries.
Yeah.
And they also supply cleaning agent.
Yeah.
So I did not know that, and then I found out. And then they actually, Bob is who I spoke with earlier. He's potentially working on an article. He's had published all around in different publications across the country. He said he would work on getting that to me. Hopefully, we do get to put that in there for them. But he has ways of. It's all about the tap pour because you can ruin a beer. You know what I mean? With too much foam, and not enough glycol. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be cooled down and chilled and all that. So you really need to know that stuff,
right? And it's so crazy to me. I can't put it any other way. How a brewer can go through all of this work, put an absolute up to their specifications, perfect beer into a keg, deliver it, and all hell can break loose.
Oh yeah,
it's just. I don't know. It's just crazy.
Right. It's got to be cared for the whole step of the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what has the process been like trying to find these people to talk to other than the accountants calling you up and saying, hey, I saw this? Has it been pretty much like that or? So
there's been several like that, but basically through the writing contacts that I've had in the other brew guides, that's definitely going to help. And we're going to, broach these, one magazine at a time. Yeah. So we're looking to be, right now we will, with this fall standalone one, will technically be a quarterly, and we'll see if it's going to actually end up being, another standalone brew guide this winter, or will it be this spring, or else we'll really add it to our other publications that seems to go so well with beer. Right. But we'll see where it goes. This first release is going to tell us a lot, and so far it's going in the right direction to be a standalone quarterly. But again, we'll see where the content comes from. We'll see where the support for advertising and all that comes from, which I really don't think will be too much of an issue after the second one. It's always kind of a hard thing to put the first one out, but you always have the people that are willing to jump on board and help out, and thank God for those.
Luckily, Hopefully you're working in magazines and not podcasting.
Yeah.
Because we reach a tremendous audience and we're getting there sponsorship wise.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're trying to do the same kind of thing. I have recently been on some road trips to get some more amazing audio for our listeners, and yeah, just trying to really get it out there. And podcasting is pretty new in terms of media content.
Right, but it's very easily shared. You can get this, on Facebook and online, and you can put it out there a lot easier. I mean, people like to listen to stuff, and on the website and all that. But yeah, I mean, they both have their everything has their goods and bads and everything. But print has been kind of fighting the digital battle. But now all of a sudden the tides are shifting, because the more the digital is digital and distracting, people are finding that the print for their brands are elevating it a lot more. It gives a lot more personal experience when they're actually reading through a publication that's got good content, and they're not being distracted by the, email ding, Facebook notification, LinkedIn, all this stuff that's so distracting when you're online, because you can do a million different things online. We all do it. But when you actually sit down to read and just get into an article about beer, and it's like you're personal. You're in that moment with the magazine, and then the advertising or support is all included in our publication. We want people that have interest in our readers. It's not going to be a bunch of weird advertising that doesn't affect the beer market. It's all what you're going to want to read about.
I know what you're talking about. Like, Squarespace would be a horrible sponsor for this show.
Right.
Because why would my beer drinkers ever care about Audible or Squarespace?
Right, exactly. We're not going to sell you granite countertops.
Exactly.
Or anything that's like, that's not what we're about.
I hear you. About how many pages are you hoping for it to be?
Right around 40, 48, somewhere around there for the first edition would be ideal. And, depending on what we wrap up this week for our content and sponsorships and all that, we should be in good shape.
And when is the first one expected out?
We're trying to coordinate it with the craft weekend that's happening like October 1st, that weekend. So basically 2 weeks. So we actually start production on Monday.
Yeah, so your publication will be out by the time this show airs. This air show airs. Yeah. Whatever.
We're podcasting from a plane.
Exactly.
During an air show.
We're
upside down.
Okay, so where can my listeners find you?
So we're working on getting displays, custom displays, and we have them already, into the various, breweries, pubs, beer bars, beer restaurants, that cater to this audience. And because we want to have a really solid point of pickup for the publication. So there'll be nice acrylic display stands with these partners. But there'll also be, which will be free. And there'll be free ones that go to our tourism partners, which is the Maine Tourism Association, Convention Visitors Bureau, which is the Jetport bus station, things like that.
Yep.
And then we have subscriptions, and then we will sell them in the stores at Hannaford, Cumberland Farms, like Rite Aid, Big Apple. Those accounts will sell them because they all have barcodes, but in order to get into those, you need to have the barcode.
Right. I have listeners that aren't in Maine, but Maine is a huge beer destination.
Absolutely.
So what about the folks that aren't here? Can they go to a website and order one?
Absolutely. Yeah. So basically, activitymaine.com. Activity Maine is the parent publication for all these. And right there, you can go on and subscribe. You can just order just a brew guide. You can order just a race me. You can order a summer guide, a winter guide, or you can get all four.
All right. I have a very important question.
Yes.
I'm a lefty.
I
don't read my magazines correctly. I go from back to front.
From back to front. Yes, a lot of people do that, not just lefties.
Really?
Yep.
So what's going to be on the back opening?
So the inside, as far as the inside back cover, or just in there.
Just this as soon as I open it, what's going to be there? Because I always am looking for something fun and quirky.
Yep. So what we've done in our other publications, we've had a fun and games page, and we've had stuff with beer caps and things to do with some neat things. So either when we put that on the inside, or in that section, we're going to be, the way the magazine's laid out, it's starting with southern Maine and working your way north. So if you open up in the back, you might be in the Aroostook County area.
So we'll find all about Maine Malt House?
Yes, yeah. And there'll be, probably some nice photos and some information about that, about the county. So that could be in there depending on how the, brew guide wraps up.
I think it's so funny that almost half of our state is Aroostook County.
Yeah. It's bigger than Massachusetts.
And I was just listening to a podcast today, and they were like, what are the 10 smallest? And I didn't realize that Massachusetts was so much smaller than us.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then they have potato picking season, but now they're trying to turn some of their potato fields into grains for malts and stuff.
Right.
Like, is potato, like, your vacation, your 2 weeks of vacation, going to go away if you're up there?
Starting to.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep, my wife's family is from Holton, and we actually borrowed potato barrels for our wedding this summer from Holton. And they're active barrels because they're like, we need them back.
Yes.
So we borrowed 10. We drove up, put them in the back of the truck, and we got 10 barrels in the back. And then we brought them, just recently brought them back a week or so ago. But they were telling us that, there was definitely that 2 weeks. And a lot of our family is from up that way. But now it's a lot. It's been shortened, and not as many people participate in it. Obviously, because a lot of it's automated.
Right.
You're not exactly picking up potatoes from the ground and putting them in the barrels. Those are being automated. But her grandmother told me great stories when we were down in Florida last winter, all about it. And it's just like you grew up, in Aroostook or even in Holton. You pick potatoes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a real deal. It blows my mind.
Yeah, you go to school a little bit earlier, but then you get 2 weeks off at potato
picking season. Yeah. And you work your ass off.
Yeah, you do.
I thought blueberry raking was bad. I lasted a day at that.
But what's so special about a potato barrel? I don't know that I've ever seen one.
Well, we had a barn wedding.
Right, but what is specifically a potato barrel?
We used it for cocktail tables.
Isn't that the same as like a beer barrel? Or a whiskey?
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
okay. It's the same one?
Yeah, exactly.
Except you could get your hands on those.
Correct. They didn't cost us any money.
There you go.
Right.
Okay.
And these are very authentic looking as well. So
right.
it was part of a barn wedding, which I guess is the very rustic chic thing that's going on. So
yes.
I let her pick out all that details.
Yeah.
I just went along with it.
I went to a rustic chic wedding this summer where I sat on hay bales.
Yeah, we had hay bales too.
Yep. And all the girls wore cowboy boots.
Nice.
Yeah. It was actually very beautiful.
Yep. No, it really is.
We're getting far off the subject, so let's move right into our third round, which is my listeners and I would really love to know your first beer memory.
First beer memory. Very hazy. No. I feel like I've got I think the first beer I ever remembered tasting was Coors Extra Gold. So probably circa 1987. I was either a freshman or going into my freshman year of high school. A friend got some Coors Extra Gold off his old man, and we were camping on the island and tried them then.
What island?
100 Acre Island on Crawford Lake up in Union.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's very small. I mean,
yeah.
it's a very small island. We just happened, and we were very outdoorsy, and I grew up on the lake, so we had that. We were very lucky. But
so not 100 acres.
It was a 100 Acre island.
The island,
literally a 100 acre island. So it's
not too small.
No. It's definitely it's big. It's a big island in a lake. But yeah, it was definitely plenty of room. But my first craft beer memory is definitely DL Geary's. Yeah. And when that came out, we got into it early because it was probably 1989. I know DL's been here since 86, but 3 years later, I'll always remember this, seeing the logo, the tan and the red logo, Lobster Claw, in that cooler and trying it, and that kind of that first craft beer, that was the one I was like, wow, this is very interesting, and definitely got me into the craft beer movement. And after that, it was Sea Dog and Allagash, and go way back, and yeah.
We actually had DL on the show, and he talked about his first beer memory, and he talked about brewing in a castle. And
oh my God,
if you haven't listened to it, you should go back.
Have to.
Somewhere in the 20s, I think. I was doing so well knowing at what episode it was all the way up to episode 40. And then I don't even know what episode I'm on now.
Yeah.
After that, everything, it's like people's names. It just goes out.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yes.
The extra gold, do they make that anymore?
I don't know. Yeah, that was the Coors Extra Gold. I'll never forget the cans.
Do they just use extra corn to make a slightly yellower shade of?
No idea. It was probably warm when we drank it, so we really didn't care.
Yeah. This is disgusting.
We were in the
Let's
moment.
Go. All right, so we are up to our fourth and final round. We like to play a little game. We used to do the same 3 questions, but call it 3 random questions, 3 sheets to the wind, because it didn't have anything to do with beer. But people are like, they're not random. You can't call them random questions. They have the same ones every time. So now they truly are random, but there's only one per person. So I go on to a website and I say, getting to know you questions, and find the most obscure ones that I can find. And then I pick one.
Awesome.
All right. So
let's play.
All right, let's do it. So you pick a card first, and you'll ask me that one, and then I'll pick one too.
Okay.
All right. Literally, folks, these are on cards. All right.
I go first?
You can if you like, yeah.
Okay, Amanda, what is your strongest talent?
Oh, I think my strongest talent would have to be never giving up.
Persistence.
Persistence, yeah.
That's a good one to have.
Yeah, I've dealt with a bunch of stuff. I've been down a lot. There's only been, I don't necessarily in the moment want to keep going, but if I think about it, I do. I was ready when I was giving birth to my children who were both 9.5 pounds. I was like, I'm done. I just tried to give up.
Yeah.
But luckily Mother Nature didn't let that happen.
Took right over.
Yeah, she's like, no.
Yeah, this is happening.
Right. Other than that, I've dealt with a lot of stuff in my life, depression, eating disorders, job stuff, everything. But I can't give up. I feel like I've got so much to give in so many different ways that if I were to give up and just fall into this deep hole, it would, I don't know, what would be the point?
Right.
And
persistence is what keeps you going.
Exactly.
Right. And then you got to have that, because if you don't have that, what do you got?
Exactly.
Right.
So persistence, and followed closely by that, I like talking to people. So I think that's a talent. I just chat to people.
It is. Not a lot of people can do this. Just start chatting to people.
I gotta tell you, I'm pretty sure that anybody can just grab a mic, and that gives you so much more confidence to be like, hey, I do this podcast. You want to talk to me? It's just so much easier to go up to people. Tonight, Molly Ringwald is actually in town.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I'm going to have to hunt her down and just be like,
dare you.
Double dog dare you.
Yeah.
Okay, my turn.
All right, here we go.
What is your favorite season and why?
Ooh. Well, I got to say I'm a bit of a winter person.
Really?
Because of snowboarding and everything that goes along with that. I'm a Mainer, true blue, born in Belfast. I loved summers growing up. That was my favorite thing. Grew up on a lake. But, no matter what, I love all 4 seasons. Summer's right there. But winter, when lakes freeze, I ice fish. And it's like, and I love snow. I love snow sports. I love everything about it. I love fires. I love, I just love winter. I think it's a good winter. Like last winter was not a good winter.
Last winter was not a good winter.
It was good for the heating bills and all that stuff. But as far as the excitement factor, there's so much stuff to do, and it just elevates everything. I think if you winter hike, if you've never winter hiked before, it makes summer hiking not so fun. It's so much better. It's like not better. They're both great, but it's just different. It's another accomplishment.
Right.
And there's no bugs.
That is a huge plus.
It's a huge plus. But yeah, I would say I am looking forward to the winter. I'm hoping it's going to be this El Nino pattern just goes straight into what they're expecting to be a decent winter.
Yeah, we got the Farmer's Almanac up here.
Right.
Have you read that?
I did. Yeah, they said minus. They said it'd be fairly snowy, and then they're predicting some cold, and they said minus 40 in February.
Really?
With a wind chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll see.
That sounds like it makes me want to cry.
Right. People want answers on that one, but we'll see. We'll see what they leads to.
I think most people think Mainers are like you and are like, ooh, winter. Not all of us.
No. A lot of them are not.
No.
No, most people, they dread winter, and I wish the days were longer, but, in the wintertime, that's what kind of sucks, because now it's already 7 o'clock and it's dark out. I'm like, that's a bummer.
Right, but in the winter, it's even worse. People don't realize,
4 o'clock.
Yeah. Literally, once we get to the winter solstice, 3:30, it starts getting gray.
Yeah.
Like, it's not dark, but 3:30, you're like, oh, look, the sun's going down.
Yeah, it's setting.
Right. What is this?
Yeah.
I love snowboarding too. I grew up as a ski instructor. I switched over to being a snowboarder. Then my little one wanted to learn how to ski. I had to sell the board to get skis to teach her.
Yep.
Someday.
Yeah.
Someday they'll get those comfy boots back.
Right, and then you'll get her on it.
Yes.
Yeah. So many other activities and beer drinking go along with winter sports.
Again.
Like ice fishing. Where else can you have a sport where you wake up, drill your holes, and start drinking?
Exactly.
I mean, it's wonderful.
I'm a little afraid of ice.
Yeah.
Going out there, but it does sound pretty epic.
Yeah, it is. It's great. And then, with friends, catching fish, doing things in nature, and it's an adventure, the whole thing. And then you can plan ski trips or snowboard trips. You go to Vermont, and all the breweries you can hit in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. And now I'm excited about the new Norway Brewing Company up by Sunday River.
Yeah,
and
that's where
Charlie
I grew up.
and Erica are great people. Oh my God!
I grew up in Waterford. So I went to Oxford Hills, and
yes.
I actually was a ski instructor at Sunday River.
That's awesome. So I got my pass ready to go.
You're like, let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You go home
we'll
and you just
podcast from a chondola.
I'm really hoping. I was supposed to meet up with Scott Westcott last winter.
Oh yeah,
but
Seth.
The winter. Did I say Seth? I said Scott. Gosh darn!
Yeah.
I think I was trying to say Wes Scott.
Yeah.
And then Scott.
Yeah.
Seth. But the winter became so. I wanted to talk to him about après ski.
Right.
And winter just disappeared.
Yep.
So I'm hoping that I can reconnect with him this winter, maybe in December, so that by the time we can actually get together, it'll still be. Maybe I should start talking to him now.
Yeah, no, he's great. I interviewed him actually for one of the magazines,
nice.
for the winter magazine, and we had sushi up at Geppetto's.
Oh, yeah.
And it's awesome. He was great. He was great to work with, and he was just like, wanted to hang out. Like after the interview was over, we had some sake or whatever, and then it was like, I thought he was just going to be like, got to go somewhere, but he's like, yeah, we sat and had a few beers, and then he ended up giving us a ride back to our car because it was snowing like a.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's one of the things I love about being from Maine. There's this camaraderie that is just something else. If you're like, hey, I'm from Maine, and me too. It really feels like people come together, work together, especially for something that, like craft beer. There's this additional piece of it where everybody, rising tide lifts all ships.
Yes.
And the fact that Rising Tide named it their company after that.
Right.
It's just, I think that really speaks a lot for the beer community here in Maine.
Yeah, they really they do fantastic work.
Yeah.
And a lot of charitable stuff that they do.
Yeah. And a lot of the breweries do.
Yep.
It's intense, and I love it.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sitting here as I forget every person's name I've ever met.
Yeah.
Or talked to or anything. It's been great. I'm not normally this bad. I am still catching up on sleep. I went to Philadelphia for a conference, and I got some great audio that'll be coming your way shortly. 10-hour drive down, 10-hour drive back.
That's impressive. Yeah.
Normally I'm a little bit better than this.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, not much, but a little.
No.
Well, thank you very much, Stan. Can you just repeat one more time for my listeners where they can find you on the interwebs?
Yes, it's activitymaine.com. MaineBrewGuide.com will be active very soon. So that's an easy one. Once we have the Maine Brew Guide out, we can just easily send people to MaineBrewGuide.com. If you go to Maine Brew Guide, it'll take you to activitymaine.com right now until it's fixed. But yeah, activitymaine.com will take you to all our information. You get subscriptions. You can subscribe to the Brew Guide. You can view all our stuff, our content, right online.
Thank you so much, and cheers to you.
Thank you. Cheers.
A special thanks to Stan for taking the time to sit down and chat with me. Also, a big thank you to the Thirsty Pig in Portland, Maine, for being such a cozy spot to have a beer and talk into mics. Make sure you head over to the show notes, greatbeeradventure.com/069 to find links to everything we chat about on today's show. And who knows, maybe one day you'll get to see my name on glossy paper. Join me next week for our second stop on our brief brewery road trip. If you all, our fabulous co-adventurers, would like to support the show, check out our Patreon page. For less than the cost of a beer, you can show us some love. Go to greatbeeradventure.com/support. If you want to see even more from our adventures, follow us on Instagram @GreatBeerAdventure. And be sure to subscribe to the show. That way, you won't miss a thing. Great Beer Adventure is part of the Great Pint Society. Cheers.